really what I want to do is welcome you. I am really jazzed to be here because you guys, I can celebrate you guys. You're starting out on this pathway that is pretty darn awesome. What is it called? It's called EXITO, biomedical research, career pathways for undergraduates. It's a pretty long sort of title, but it's really an amazing mission. So that's why I'm excited to be here. So I brought somebody with me, Glenn Fielding, he's my co-author. He's just going to be here for our moral support. Tomorrow I'm bringing in a student and we're going to do a mentoring dialogue. We're going to actually demo something like that. And why am I excited about you guys? Because you represent to me a coming balance between equity, a more equitable world, and a healthier world. And when I look at you, what I see is you are people that have a whole self. You also have a career. You're a professional, becoming a professional with a career. You are a person that has a family background and a cultural heritage, which I'm also very interested in. You have a connection to the natural world, because we're all people here on the planet. You have a huge potential, which is really vast. We don't always get at all of it, and pretty precious. And you have an authentic self, which to me is pretty extraordinary and maybe even more precious. And I'm really interested in how all these pieces fit together in you and make you the unique human being that you are, and then what you're going to do with all this uniqueness that you have to discover and nurture and bring out your signature contribution, whatever that's going to be, signature contribution. So, inclusive mentoring is something, I didn't make it up, I've learned from a lot of people. I bring this from the Netherlands because I'm also a Dutch citizen, and there they do things a little differently. And it looks at all of this, and it tries to put all of this together. So I'm very interested in the whole human being. So that's what inclusive mentoring is about. So I'd like to welcome you to, and hopefully give you some more insights about mentoring. I know that you're going to have, during this week, at least 3-4 times that you're going to be hearing about mentoring. What I hope is that this piece gives you a little broader perspective, a little bit more comprehensive, so that you can have even a more explicit idea of what you guys want in the mentoring that is going to be for you. So this is sort of educational in that sense, and I bring in some of the other elements that, such as the heart and maybe some of those other things that aren't as often talked about. And I bring in the cultural piece too, which I think is really, really important. Okay? All right, glasses go on, gives you a little bit of idea of my age. You have on your desks a worksheet. You're going to be using that, so hopefully you have a pen. If you don't have a pen, Glenn has a few pens. You're going to need this. There's also an evaluation, which I'm going to ask you to fill out at the end. It would really help me out if you could fill that out, because that makes me improve. I also have a sign-up sheet if anybody's interested in the PowerPoint. It's up here. You don't have to do it if you want. You can sign up here. I also have some other programs that are about this inclusive mentoring. If you might want to get my email list, that's fine. Okay, so let's take a look at what we're going to be covering today. This is the content for today, and tomorrow we're going to do part 2. So today we're going to look at some more key mentoring concepts, 2 focus areas to guide mentoring, and then I'm going to give you an activity about finding your zone. Right? And we have some intentions. So the intentions that cover the 2 days are to gain insights into inclusive mentoring. Obviously, there's a lot of content here. Then to be exploring how these mentoring concepts apply to the science experiences that you've already had. And we'll do a little bit of that today and a little bit of that tomorrow. And then also look at how to apply the learning about inclusive mentoring to your future mentoring relationships that you're going to be having during your 4 years or less if you've already gotten through a couple years of school. Okay? So that's what we're going to try to cover today and tomorrow. All right, so let's get into the key concepts of inclusive mentoring. This is a Greek guy, and it was another Greek guy. His mentor was a real person. All right, so basically what I believe is that all of you could become well-developed professionals, young professionals. I'm going to call you professionals, whether you're a student or at work, or I'm going to call you professional. And I believe that mentoring can help you become a well-developed professional, both inside and outside, wherever you're hanging out, wherever you're working or studying, that you can do all of that. And that can continue for the rest of your life. So how does one become a well-developed professional? Well, first thing you have to have is a commitment to want to do that. You can't grow grass by pulling on the blades. You have to want to do this. Then you're going to need the inclusive mentoring to help you. And what is inclusive mentoring? Well, it has a broad human focus. It's not just for those who are interested in academic or job advancement. It's personal and professional, and how those things go together, and all that development in your personal and professional life. It's for everyone. It's not just for the high climbers. It's not for just the gifted. It's for everyone. Also, not to orient those people who are new at an organization or new at a new place. It's for all of you. And it makes a special emphasis to work with people from non-dominant groups. So this particular National Institute of Health program, a field EXITO program, is also for all of you, because we're trying to get more diversity. Yay, we're trying to get more diversity in our workforces at jobs that you guys want to have. Okay, I've been working with this idea of inclusive mentoring for about 25 years in the Netherlands, so I do it all in Dutch. I'm glad to be speaking English again. There they call me an ontwikkelingsbegeleider. An ontwikkelingsbegeleider basically is a development guide. And in Holland, they actually hire external professionally trained mentors, which is me, to come in and help, and they do that in academic settings, they do it in government, as well as in the private sector, in commercial world. So I've mentored lots and lots and lots and lots of people. Here it's a little different. We do things a little different. So hopefully this Dutch way of doing things will be interesting for you. I also call myself a radiant power coach. And radiant power coach is really a little bit more, it's sort of an American marketing thing that goes towards the women, because I do work with a lot of women and people of color. But the basic content is the same. It's just a little jazzier stuff than an inclusive mentor. Boring. Okay, let's take a look at where mentoring is today. I got some statistics for you. So this lady, Dr. Bella Raggins, she is professor at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. She took a bunch of data and put it together. She was looking at the connection between diversity and mentoring, and she looked at what is the influence of mentoring on salary increases and career advancement. So those are the ones that most of the studies were on. And when she looked at she looked at race and ethnicity and gender. So when you are a male or female mentee with a male mentor, you had a greater boost in your compensation than if you had a female mentor. Okay, I'm not very well rounded. Then she looked at race and ethnicity, and she said if you're a mentor of color with a white male mentor, you had also there more of a dollar boost in your compensation than with a mentor of color. And she looked at Hispanic and Black MBA students, rather professionals, and found when they had a white mentor, they also had a greater dollar boost than with a mentor of color. Finally, she looked at male and female mentees with a female mentor or a mentor of color, and there they did not have more of a boost than employees without mentors. This did not make me very happy. But that's the way the statistics are showing in the studies that she looked at. So we can kind of draw a conclusion here. If you are interested in career advancement, which is part of what this program is somewhat about, because when you can get into further places of influence and power, you might be able to make a greater difference. If you want that, it's okay, go find yourself a white male mentor and somebody who can actually take you under their wing and help you to move up in your careers. You may not need someone like me, but you might need someone like me or someone that looks at other things for other parts of your human development. Okay, I think the reason why these gentlemen can help you advance your careers is probably because in America, males usually, she looked at business, usually still hold most of the power and have the most influence. The reason why I do what I do, and I work primarily with people of color and women, is I really hope we're going to make this change here also. That more and more folks like yourself are going to be moving into positions of power and influence, and that you can continue to mentor more people of color and that can also be moving. And then we're going to start to tip the balance. And that's one of the reasons I do what I do, because it just is important for me. I'm part of that same population, and I want to see changes happen as well. So let's take a look, move forward into what I call inclusive mentoring. So if we move away from that statistic and look at another way of looking at mentoring, one of the goals that I believe inclusive mentoring should have is to increase the number of mentors in top positions from all non-dominant groups. It's going to take a long time. I'm doing it, I'm picking away at it one by one. For all of you, I want to suggest some goals for the well-developed professional. So the key goals that I think are important is, one, you definitely got to move ahead, right? You want to make that happen. Also, I think it's really important for you to be integrating your professional, personal, ecological, and cultural identities. Because the more you have of you, with you, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, the more resources you have. It's like biodiversity. You bringing all of you there. It gives you more resources to work with, right? You never know when there's an insight coming that has to do with your culture. You never know. All right, overcoming limiting beliefs. Anything that's holding you back. And our little noggins actually hold us back quite a bit. It advances us, but we also hold ourselves back. So anytime that's going on, to try to be vigilant about moving those things out of the way, those mental blocks out of the way, so that you can keep working with confidence and presence in wherever you are. Come on in front here, ladies. We need to, you want to come up here and fill the three in? Sorry about that. Okay, and the last thing is that you got to be healthy. So life-work balance is really important. So those are general goals, but I think those are goals that could carry you through the rest of your life. All right. Okay, let's take a look at a definition. Did you guys get a definition of mentoring yet? Yes? No? Okay. Hopefully this is about the same. That means we're all on a good track. Mentoring is a mutually trusting and caring relationship with emphasis on relationship in which a person of greater experience or wisdom provides guidance, support, role modeling, and organizational connections to a person of lesser experience. I think you heard a little bit about what the mentor could do. I'm going to be covering some of that as well, but I'll be adding in maybe a few more dimensions. So that's a general definition. So how does mentoring come about? We either have this spontaneous way, naturally rising. That's where the mentor-mentees find each other. They don't have any third-party guidance, and they shape the course of their own relationships. And where do they meet? They meet in the same place that they hang out, or they meet at outside the workplace or outside the school place, professional networks, conferences, and gatherings. That's, for example, where you find me. The other way that mentoring comes about is something called program-based. So I would say EXITO is a program-based a mentoring that includes the program all developed by the organization. So that's when the organization works on policies, procedures, third-party matching of mentors and mentees, goals, roles, timelines, assessments, funding, and staffing. Right? So you guys get to be part of one, and I understand that these mentoring relationships you're going to have are going to be successful because they're going to make sure they're successful, do everything they can, and it doesn't matter whether you have a mentor who is a male, a female, of color, not of color, it's all okay, because they're going to make sure that the mentoring relationships go well. Okay, so let's take a look at what the mentor does. You've probably heard a little bit of this. I basically put it into 4 categories. So I call them hats. The first hat is the guide hat. So a mentor has to be kind of wise and share some of that wisdom with you. Help the mentee set the direction and avoid pitfalls. So here's the road. That's the road that you're on, and you can gather some support and help in how you figure out what direction you want to be on this road. And then where are the any pitfalls? Then you get some constructive criticism and challenges and feedback so that you can do well on the road. And then in case there's something that you haven't seen on the road that isn't talked about, sometimes there's that stuff out there that's not really talked about, you also hopefully can get some help there, or you can ask for help there. So support hat. Support hat inspires the mentee to see themselves as a full professional, because we're always learning. If we're continually learning, there's always something we don't do well. And to get that help to see yourself as fully professional does give us the oomph to keep going. Hold space for the mentee to talk and reflect openly. This is about self-awareness. As you get more self-aware, you get to figure out where it is you want to work on for yourself so that you can figure out where those blocks are and that kind of stuff. So it's important to be able to have open place to talk and reflect. It helps the mentee to surface those pesky and release those pesky limiting beliefs. Affirms, encourages, serves as a general cheerleader. Okay, 2 more hats. Role model. Obviously, they are going to be a role model for you. They will show you the confidence they have. They hopefully will stand and do everything you have with integrity, while at the same time being aware that he or she also has a need to continually grow, so that you're all a work in progress. We're all a work in progress. And finally, the connect hat links the mentee to key people, networks, organizations, and resources. Very important if you're trying to figure out where to get a grant for the particular research that you want to do. Shines a spotlight on the mentee's good work and quality so that the right people know who you are and what you're doing. And finally, sponsors the mentee, even sponsors the mentee for promotions and new positions. Yay, it helps when somebody's your champion. All right, so those are the hats. Let's take a look at what are the areas that the mentor needs to work in. So, a mentor knows what he's doing, and then you have to figure out what area do you want to work on in yourself, and what do you and the mentor want to do together. So I've kind of come up with 6 general areas that kind of fit everybody. What we're going to cover personal mastery and organizational know-how today. Tomorrow we're going to work on cultural agility. I'm not going to go into eco-friendliness. I'm also an eco-psychologist. Basically, that means that you all have some relation to nature, and you have some place that you bond with, physical place that you bond with, and that maybe you do some stewardship, like recycle, things like that. This one, interpersonal effectiveness, this is about how well you collaborate, how well you communicate, how well you cooperate. It's all the interpersonal stuff. I'm not going to go into that one. And then technical proficiency, this is what you need your research mentor for, your academic advisor for. They're the ones that have all the knowledge, and they're going to be helping you take that knowledge and get proficient at it and get competent at it. So that's what you don't come to me for that kind of stuff, especially not in biomedical research. All right, so we're going to go into today personal mastery. So what's personal mastery? I kind of already said it. You guys are a pocket of all this potential, and it's all kind of waiting to come out. But we got a few things that kind of get in the way of it. And to try to open all of that up, even the unconscious stuff. I think you guys did the Ohari window, something about the unconscious, the blind spots. Well, the more you know about your blind spots and can work with those blind spots, the more you're able to release the potential and get that out there for the signature contribution. So that's what personal mastery is about. The first aspect, we got 4. Unearthing, you got to get good at unearthing self-disempowerment. If there's one aha you can get out of today, is that we all have some form of disempowerment that we do ourselves. And as soon as you find that handbrake, where that is, you got instantly more power. So this is something you got in your own hand. If you can figure out where you have the unconscious places. And let me give you an example. So if you grow up in a culture that values obedience to authority and family unit over the individual, as I did, you tend to repeat this wherever you go. So when I got into my first job or when I was in school, I just passively submitted to my teachers, my professors, and my bosses. And I noticed that some of my Caucasian buddies and friends were doing it a little bit differently. They may have had a little bit more courage to stand up and say what they wanted to and ask for things that they believed in. That wasn't my case because I wasn't taught how to do that. So this is something that is culturally based. Another example, if you happen to come from a family with a patriarchal structure where the dad is on top, women in particular internalize this being the lesser, and we tend to dim it down because we've learned to dim it down. So this is also culturally based. So a mentor shouldn't assume that but should check with you and to find out if you have any way that you are doing the lesser thing or anything like that that's based on your cultural background. So that's a little bit about self-disimpact. This is usually unconscious, but there are ways to get it conscious. I found all kinds of tricks how to get this stuff conscious. Okay? Next thing you have to get good at is overcoming limiting beliefs. So those are things, are perceptions that we've usually picked up and learned or been told that aren't necessarily true, or that we can actually check. So here's another culturally based example. If you believe that because you come from some group that is less valued, you probably have somewhere deep inside a belief that you are handicapped because you're never really going to overcome that. Well, that is also not true. So it's really important to check these perceptions that we have that we think we believe. Here's another one. Let's say you have a limiting belief that you don't deserve success or opportunities in a competitive field like biomedical research. You may not know it completely, but you have this. Women and people of color may be particularly susceptible to this feeling of unworthiness in science because they don't feel truly welcomed and valued in the elite science labs. And this was the case for a woman, molecular biologist named Sarah Sober. She just put out a editorial in the New York Times last week, and the title of it is, "What is it like as a girl in the lab?" So you might want to go look for that if you happen to be female. So you are up against some of these more, they're rooted in our organizations. That's why I'm going to go into organizational know-how. So everybody has some form of limiting beliefs, but a mentor may help you to discover anything that's related to your upbringing, or that's why I'm interested in people's their family background and their culture. Okay, so now you've become more powerful, right? And you have less of these pesky things holding you back. So you're ready now for listening to your deepest wisdom and grounding your aspirations and decisions in that wisdom. So what I found with the hundreds and hundreds of people I worked with, that everybody has a natural inner wisdom, a sense inside of who they are and what's right for them. And when you can start to tap into that, when I get to go on the great adventure to go find this and listen really deeply to what's those things that are going on inside of you, it's like being on the best treasure hunt in the world. And when the light in your eyes starts to sparkle more and you're starting to get it, what you really know inside here, I get the biggest high in the world. It's the best thing in the world. So then you are ready with a big dose of radical self-responsibility to manifest the signature contribution, right? Because that's where you're going down the road. I say radical self-responsibility is because every time you try to do something that feels like it's impossible, you're going to circle back around here and find all the limiting beliefs and find all the unconscious self-disempowerment. So you have to be very vigilant to keep yourself moving forward. We're going to do an exercise that kind of looks a little bit at that. Okay, signature contribution. All right, so let's go on to organizational know-how. So you're in PSU here right now, and OHSU is part of that. Any kind of a big institution, whether it is a laboratory that you might be working at, here in a university is a organization. And there's all kinds of things that you have to learn to do to navigate that organization. And when you can get good at that, that helps you get to wherever you need to go to. So no matter where you are, even walking down the street, you've got to follow laws and things like that. Those are pretty well written out, but there's sometimes things that aren't so talked about. Okay? So the first thing is knowing both the spoken and the unspoken rules. So there's this guy standing in front of the cabinet and he says, "Hey, does anybody know where to keep the unwritten rules?" So certain rules are written down and certain rules aren't written down. I think everybody knows that. We don't always talk about it, but everybody knows that. So a person who is not so informed about the way of the workings of an organization, like say PSU, they may need to get some help to sort of decipher what's going on, especially when nobody's really talking about it. It may be that people are doing things differently than the way it's written down on paper you're supposed to do. I know when I started working, I realized that a lot of people are doing it differently. I'm like, what's going on here? I'm a very obedient one following the rules. And when a mentor could help me to understand what was really going on, and where I could ask questions because it was very confusing to me, I started to relax because I didn't feel as out of it. And that's a very important role that a mentor can play because they kind of know the organization. And this can also be in your industry of biomedical research. Okay? Second one, knowing which doors to open and when and how to go through them. I want to give you an example. I started working at Levi Strauss, the international headquarters down in San Francisco, the ones that make the 501s. And I was at an entry-level job, and I had no idea what it would take to move up the ladder. I didn't even know that there was stuff you could do to move up the ladder. I just thought you had to be a good employee and then you would get promoted. Well, that wasn't the case. So I finally got somebody to kind of help me to be seen and to help me know who I should be talking to. And that started to make a difference. So, for example, in an academic setting, a new person may not know that volunteering to serve on a particular committee might be an important step in their moving into promotion. So a mentor can help nominate you, can help say these things to you, can help you understand what it takes to be seen in the right places at the right time. And this is important. And the last one, understanding and working with organizational politics. Wow. So this is about how we use power and influence that goes beyond the official lines of authority. And this is also going on all the time. To be successful politically, a mentee may need to take a stand, gain support, and form alliances. So here's an example from a research setting. A mentee may feel strongly that her work unit should go after a grant. And this may be to serve people that are less served, such as migrant workers or Native Americans, just for example. In order to move her idea forward, she will need to exercise political skills, such as convincing others to back her. A mentor can share tips on how to be political, how to do that. And for those from non-dominant ethnic groups who historically may not have had as much experience holding power, it's really a good lesson to learn how to do that and do that well. You're going to need it at some point. Okay, so that is organizational know-how. All right, so we're going to do an exercise, and I'm going to return us to personal mastery, signature contribution in science and research. So you've been learning this week a lot about different careers and things that are in the biomedical field as well as the health-related field. But it takes most of us a long time to understand and get to know who we are, have knowledge of the field, and also figure out what is our signature contribution. So one way that can help you with this quest is to begin to recognize what kind of science activities make you feel in your zone. That might be a nice signpost to give you an idea of where you might be good at. It's just a thought, but we're going to experiment with that today. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the zone. Then I'm going to give you an activity so that you can kind of look back at all the stuff you've done. Hopefully you've done something in science. And you're going to see if there were any of those things you did that made you feel this way, what I'm just going to explain. Because that might be a little bit of an indicator. All right, so here's the zone. The zone is being completely absorbed and energized by what you're doing. It is also finding a harmonious match between the task challenges and your skills. So you basically can figure it out and get it done. And then lastly, you feel that you're meant to be doing this activity. Remember I said that inner voice, you're just meant to be doing this, and that somehow it's really meaningful. For me, I realized that I was not valued as a girl. And so the pain I have about not being valued is what fires me up to be here in front of all of you speaking, to talk about you being valuable, and that everything going on inside of you is valuable. So even the things that bug you the most might be the things that fire you up the most. And that's a really good place to be, because it gets me up out of bed every day when I think about people that can become more than what they believe they could become. I get excited. So I think, yeah, one more person. All right, so this is the zone, and you have that written down on your sheet here. All right, we're going to do an exercise. Okay, so in order to do that, you're going to follow along with me. And I'm going to get you quiet, just for a few minutes, so that you can start to reflect inside, because you're going to need to have that skill to be able to reflect inside. All right, so I want you all to follow me in a moment of silence so you can be more receptive. So close your eyes. You're going to get comfortable in your chairs. Just going to follow my voice. Inhaling slowly and smoothly through your nose. Exhaling through your mouth. Inhaling slowly, going through your nose, and let your chest and belly fill. And relax with the exhalation. And inhaling through your nose. And relaxing your body with the exhalation. So I'm going to give you a minute. You keep your eyes closed. Just listen to my voice. I want you to think back to activities that you've experienced as a student of science or volunteer, intern, staff person in science, in a science, technology, or engineering organization. Think back to a time when you were working, when you were doing something. And while you're seeing yourself back in that place, think about all the activities you did. See if you can find an activity helped you feel in the zone where you were completely absorbed and energized, where you felt like your skills matched the challenges, you could figure it out. Or you felt like this was the activity you were meant to do, and it had a great meaning for you. If you can't find that activity that matches the zone, just any activity that you really liked a lot. So see if you can feel those activities. Remember when you were in that place of feeling really in sync, energized, time flew by, you didn't even know it. You're in your zone. Give yourself time. The more you can recall it, the more you can feel what it feels like. The more you transport yourself into that place. Open your eyes slowly. So we're going to take that into the next step of being aware. Now you're going to describe it. When you can start to describe it, it is something you actually capture more. So in this blank space, under activity 1, you're going to describe those activities. Even if it wasn't completely the zone, something you really, really like. Right? And those the three characteristics are there. So I'm going to give you a minute to write it down so that you've got it captured on paper. What were you doing? Try to describe it. Capture what about that did you like so much when you just felt you were in the zone. Okay, when you think you got it, look up here, so I know you're pretty much there. You've got another 30 seconds. Making notes to yourself. I get everybody's attention up here. Okay, so this is going to be one of your little hip pocket meters, barometers. Whenever you feel like you're doing something where you might be in the zone, note that. That's important information about yourself. You're going to take it one step further. You're now going to verbalize this in your trio. So that's why I've got you set up in trios. So each one of you is going to get to describe some zone activity or something like that. And for the person who is sharing, you get to say whatever you feel comfortable saying, and you don't say whatever you don't feel comfortable saying. You set your own boundaries. Right? It's important. You're going to work with a mentor to verbalize. Change names if you need to. For the listener, it's also really important because when you can give your full attention to somebody, you guys are going to be mentors at some point too, it helps the person who is speaking because they feel validated. So listener, try to let go of whatever's going on in your head, and give your full attention with open heart, and please don't interrupt. So in your trios, can one person volunteer to start? In each trio, one person's going to start. I get one person to start in each trio. You guys are going to do it, that's fine. Okay, I'm going to do the bell 1 minute. So the first person to start, we'll just go around the circle. Okay, go ahead. feels good. And when you talk about it to other friends, you usually get a lot of energy. That's one of your renewable resources, is that energy when you feel you're in the zone. And that's something you can always rely on. You just start to feel, even when you're tired, it's better than caffeine. It's a very good part of your energy. So this is kind of a little clue. You can take this with you wherever you go while you're in your studies. And notice when you might be in that kind of zone place, pay attention to that. Because then you can sort of dialogue with yourself. So why is this important to me? Why do I like it so much? What about this makes me feel so right and so good? And hopefully you learn to trust that. Because nobody would have ever been able to tell me that I would be standing up here talking about a combination of biodiversity and ethnicity all at the same time in front of a bunch of students. I had no idea I was going to like it that much. All right, so that's basically the content for today. We're going to go and look at what we're going to do tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to continue on with the last of the three, which is going to be cultural agility. You're going to get an activity to kind of work with your own cultural agility. I'm going to bring in Karen Chow. She's a PSU student who I've been working with for 7 months, and we're going to do one that really shows, it's very heartfelt, how she was struggling with the cultural agility piece. And then we're going to look really quickly at different forms and come up with some next steps of what you want to do with your mentor. So that's for tomorrow. So we got a little bit of time. I'm actually a little bit early. Anybody got a question I could try to answer, or an aha, or something about your zone that you would like to just voice? Yes?
I'm Becca. Nice to meet you. Thank you so much for being here. When you're talking about the zone, we were actually having a conversation. So one of the things that I really love is studying flow. And it looked like your breakdown of the zone is the flow, or the science of happiness.
Yes.
Is that where you got it?
Yes. There's also something called peak experience. I'm a transpersonal psychologist, so I believe that there's a little more to you than just the ego. One of the things that we study, or try to study, it's not the easiest to study, is transcendent states. States where we are actually able to access something more. That's why I believe that you have bigger potential than maybe what you think you do. So it's a combination of that. It's a whole study. So to really get into it, it would take me, several days to get into that. But this is just touching into it, because I think it's an important, it's kind of like, the bell goes on, oh yeah, this is a good place for me to be in. Thank you. Does that answer the question?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else want to tell me something cool about being in the zone? Dawn?
I actually have something. Kay and I were back here trying to do the exercise also, and Kay went first, and then it was my turn. I was like, I honestly don't know how to answer this question, and I just want to share that because I think, I'm trying to think about what it would be like for you to answer that question versus someone in my position, another faculty maybe, but I just want to really challenge you and encourage you to continue tracking this. I mean, it might seem like, here's an exercise we're doing, and maybe not, maybe you're all like, you see why this is important, but this is very important because otherwise what ends up happening is you're on a path and you just keep going down this path. You forget to ask yourself about this, and then you get so far away that you think, how about this? And so it's good to just constantly challenge yourself. So I just wanted to reiterate everything you're saying from a person on a different place on the pathway.
Thank you very much. This is really important. We can get very far along a pathway and just sort of stick in there and you never change it, and you miss out on feeling some of this deeper stuff. Some of us get it pretty early, or we figure it out, and some of us don't. So that's why I wanted to bring this up. This is kind of out of the box kind of stuff, and I think we need to bring that in the box because your brilliance comes out when you're in these kinds of places. Yes, please.
I agree with what Dawn was saying because it kind of makes me think, if I've always wanted to go to med school and have been so close-minded to anything else, if I pay attention to the research I'm doing, like at CCC, like little research that I design, and get great joy out of it, like my parents always told me, if you do something you love, you'll never work a day in your life, and so that's so true. So if you pay attention to that and realize, well, maybe, this is an interesting concept to me, or maybe this interests me more than going to med school potentially, that's something that you need to identify and pay attention to.
Yeah, and life brings us sometimes interesting turns, and so when you pay attention and try to figure out, maybe it feels like the thing that you love the most is really far away. I believe in creative tension, that we can make a way to build bridges, and along the way of building those bridges, you may come up with some brilliant idea. So it's worth it to try to stay sometimes in that place that you love the most and figure out how you're going to connect the dots. Because that's where our real creativity comes out. I think there's a lot of people who have written about this kind of stuff. Okay? Great, thank you very much. Anything else? Please?
What if you have multiple zones? What if you enjoy
If you want some of that. I have that problem. I have multiple zones. It's taken me into my 60s to get it all put together. There's some very wise people, they say sometimes you have your job, then you have a career, and then you have your calling. Or some that will say you do your job because that's what you need to pay the bills. But there's another kind of soul dance that wants to happen. You need all the skills along the way when you're learning different things to be able to do the big work, whatever that big work is going to be. So even though you might have something you like, sort of, and then there's another one you like a little more, if you can aspire to do those things, you can figure it out. It's taken me a long time to get it all put together. You know, I've had several degrees, 4 or 5 different careers. I don't think I look like I'm in my 60s. I don't feel like I'm in my 60s.
You don't.
But I'm still working at putting it all together. Does that help? Something you got to choose.
It does. I've had a lot of conversations with a bunch of my peers here, and we almost wish we could design our own sort of curriculum, because at times we know the intersect and we know everything we're doing is very interdisciplinary. So we kind of wish we could just, jam it all together.
There's a lot of that going on interdisciplinary, and I think that's where that's about the relationships, connecting dots. That's where I think some of the newest stuff is starting to show up. So yes. So be in that uncomfortable place of trying to put it all together.
Thank you.
Anybody else move out there? You guys get to go have a 10-minute break? All right. I've got an evaluation form. If you wouldn't mind doing that for me, I would love it. And you can give it to Dawn, right? Or